Hello, welcome to HCMguru Jyoti. And would you please like to introduce yourself to our viewers once?
Very good morning, Indravati. Yes, definitely. Why not? So, myself, Jyoti, and I work in the capacity of pre-sales head in GCube Solutions, and I take care of all the content learning solutions.
Great. So, today's topic for you is how to make learning interactive. And given your background, I'm sure you have a few very good suggestions for our viewers.
Certainly. In fact, that's a very common question that we all keep discussing internally also. And I also realized that most of us are still trapped in old dated definitions or practices of making the content interactive. And what we usually do is we end up creating a content with lots of clicks, and we feel that this is how the content can be made interactive, because the technical definition of interactivity says that interactivity is nothing but the ability of a computer or any device to respond basis on user inputs. So this is how many of us tends to believe that, and we end up creating lots of click events in the content. I find that this kind of interactivity is called manual interactivity, whereas interactivity in learning tends to create instances where there should be a communication or a dialogue can happen between a user with their content. So we should be very mindful in creating and thoughtful in creating that kind of interactions. And at the same time, we need to be very careful that our learner, especially in e-learning section, is going to take that content in an isolation mode. So our content should be talking to them, and we should interactivity as a medium to build all that kind of communications and interaction.
So, what would be your top five suggestions to make learning interactive?
There are many actually. And to begin with, one of my favorite way of building an interaction is interactive infographic, because I find that it allow us to communicate a lot of things in a single frame. So we can add lots of information in a single view, and at the same time, a learner on the other hand can see a different perspective of the same data set. So it's beneficial for both of us. Second, I would also like to talk about learning simulations. So, simulating an environment like it happened in the real time situations, and then asking a user to attempt all these kind of a questions or problem statement that they usually do in their real time will give them a safe environment to practice and be mindful when they actually do that kind of a job in a real situations. And technically we can create that structure of that simulation very dynamic in nature, so that more and more question can be added later on by the L&D team also. And every time user can see a new question or a new problem statement depending upon that what is happening in the current environment. So that's how. Next, I would also say that I take lots of inspirations from television show or advertisement, because I find that they use very good technique for attention grabbing and at the same time knowledge retention or information retention. So one of the program that I really like is that What Will You Do? That used to come, I think, either on Discovery or on NetGeo, where they used to show one video clip for simulating the situation that a user have in hand, and then used to ask people like us that provided you will be in that situation, then what will you do? And believe me, all the options that they give looks very similar. And yes, it's difficult to find out that what is correct and what is wrong. And then basis on the selection that user made, it shows or it shows the end to that story, that provided you would have taken that particular decision, then what could have happened. So it has everything: video format, a simulated environment, you are taking a decision, and at the same time you are seeing that with your eyes that what would have happened provided you took that decision. So that kind of an interactivity can be built very easily with the help of interactive videos, contents, especially in leadership skills, especially in soft skill areas, project management. So that kind of interactions can be easily built on that kind of content.
Right.
Next, maybe we
So, if you could give us a few suggestions about how traditional methods of making learning interactive.
we can talk about something which is very traditional called assessment or knowledge checks. We have been creating those kind of interactions from ages, and we still create those interactions, but we can certainly improve on that. So we can show imageries, photographs in MCQs questions also, and we can ask cases rather than asking a direct questions on those MCQs. That will have a better retention value at a user end.
Okay.
Then I would also talk about something which is futuristic, and I would say that is a buzzword in the learning industry. So you talk to any L&T team, they will definitely want to create that kind of experience in one or the other training medium, which is called augmented reality or virtual reality. And knowing the fact that the production value at the same time, the infrastructure cost of both of these technology is going down drastically. So I could see that there is going to be very high adaptation of that kind of an interactions. Would also like to highlight one area. I was recently reading one article on virtual reality, and it has taken a very high hit because of the COVID thing that has happened, because people have to wear that glasses,
Yes.
and at the same time we have to take care of that hygiene things very carefully. So it's difficult to maintain that level of hygiene in those kind of classes. So I could see that that can impact for some time for especially VR, but AR is something that is going to be very easily adapted in the coming future.
Right. So, so we talked about traditional ways. We talked about futuristic ways. If you could just give like one or two more ideas to our viewers, I'm sure they'll be greatly helped.
Certainly. So, like all kind of interactions has their own benefits. At the same time, as an instructional designer or a learning designer, we need to be very thoughtful or mindful that which should be used where. So, for example, I'm sure all of us must have learned a lot of about gamification, and it has lots of success stories and statistics to prove that that kind of interactions is very successful. But these kind of interactions are good when the learner are positioned in the very initial journey of their learning environment. It is not advisable to use that kind of interactions in the later stage of the learning, where people are premature, and yes, they don't like spending time in collecting badges and points. So yes, we need to be very mindful that yes, all these interactions are important, but what is the learning outcome that we are trying to achieve? At the same time, what's the learning output, and the turnaround time that we have for building that content? So all these factors should be taken into our considerations while creating the content.
Right. Thank you so much, Jyoti. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for sharing your opinion with our viewers. Uh, if we get any questions for you on our website from our viewers, and we will come back to you with those questions. Okay?
Certainly, I would love to answer that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Indravati, for calling me on your
Thank you.
channel. Thanks.
Thank you.